we have a big problem here. And there's a reason that we all feel that, gosh, this is very strange. It's like these people are saying this, and then these people are saying this. And then I was going through my videos from Ebola last year, and it dawned on me. Well, it did dawn on me. I was watching it, and I remember what I reported about. See, during the Ebola thing, nobody was giving money to help them. And they've had like 3,000 people die. And the World Health Organization funds weren't released. And it was a big deal. And so they ended up having to beg for money. And they were like, where's the pandemic money? What? Okay, yeah, the pandemic money. What is this? And so I began looking into it. And, well, let me show you what from 2017. Because back then they made it sound awesome, right? The World Bank launched a pandemic bond to tackle major outbreaks. So this was touted as something great. You can put in whatever amount of money, you can buy these bonds, and if a pandemic does not happen by July of 2020, you're going to get all your money back plus a butt ton of interest, right? The question we have to ask is, who invested in these? Because those seem to be the ones that would want this not to be a pandemic. Look, I'm not saying it is or it's not, but it's obvious that they have a money involvement issue, and this is crazy. Let me explain it a little more. So, back in 2017, the World Bank launched a pandemic bond to support an emergency financing facility intended to release money quickly. So if there was a crisis, they would be able to just take that money out and hand it over to whatever country needed it. Okay? To quickly fight a major health crisis like the 2014 Ebola outbreak. The catastrophe bond, which will pay out depending on the size of the outbreak, its growth rate, and number of countries affected, is the first of its kind for epidemics. It should mean money is dispersed much faster than it was during the West Africa's Ebola crisis. Ebola spreads across the region in the early months of 2014. Michael Bennett, head of derivatives and structured finance, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, but so they're trying to sell this to the public at this point, because this is back in 2017, right? And so they're saying $100 million could have just been mobilized as early as July if we had this fund in place, right? So people need to invest in this. And so they started investing people's 401k. You might not even know about this. You might not even know that your 401 has been invested in this, in these pandemic bonds. In reality, money did not, so they're still trying to sell this. And in the end, about 11,000 people ended up dying, which cost $2.8 billion. And this is the World Bank, okay? This is all connected to the World Bank. This should be completely illegal. This should not even occur, because anybody that's thinking right now, you might have just kind of been confused. You might have just showed up on the video. But what this would do is give reasons for people not to want to call it actually a pandemic. And then on the other side, it would give people a reason, to call it. It's hard to explain. But this should not even be a factor. But there are people with millions invested in this. Hundreds of millions. And not only their money, people's 401ks. Hence, this is now, it's all making sense. I mean, so look, they were only looking for like a few hundred million, but everybody jumped on it. So we don't even know what it really is at. They're saying 450 million, but if they're saying that it overprescribed at 200%, it could be a lot of people's 401ks. So now let's go to how this, if I'm confusing you, I hope I'm not. But an inside look at the debate around the pandemic bonds, which have 425 million hinging on how deadly the coronavirus ends up being. I think it's more than 425 million by the looks of what they said in 2017, but let's just go with this. So, investors holding the World Bank's pandemic bonds stand to either reap massive profits or lose hundreds of millions of dollars, depending on the coronavirus outbreak lethality. So how many people die. The instruments offer higher than average returns, but bondholders will lose their principal. So the people that invested in this, and it might be your money, or it might be their personal money. Honestly, you know, for people that have a conscience, they're probably freaking out more over if they invested your money into it. It's not a time to laugh. This is bad, y'all. But I'm going to get to the things that don't make any sense. Okay. So the bonds are a novel way. Yeah, novel. That's funny. Novel way to connect the financial sector with epidemic relief and potentially save millions of lives. The World Bank's president said in 2017. See how they made it sound like an amazing idea. Others aren't so sure of its assets' effectiveness in curbing an outbreak. Exactly. It seems quite ridiculous. The bonds trigger are very late, and the organization could have funded relief efforts without any unnecessary, inappropriate, and ineffective risk financing instruments. So there are people, no matter what's going on, there are big people with big money involved in saying the truth about this on both sides. A group of unique bondholders will either reap massive profits or lose hundreds of millions of dollars as the coronavirus outbreak escalates. So-called pandemic bonds, which, okay, I don't know why they repeat things like that. But then a certain criteria has to be met. So let me get to that. Oh, I wonder if is he an investor? Oh, I bet Cuomo's an investor too, but I'm not going to say nothing about that. You can make your own assumptions. Okay, there's two tranches of pandemic bonds that represent different risks of contagion. The World Bank offered $225 million worth of Class A debt, which pay out 6.9% annually. The bond default if pandemic-related deaths reach 2,500 in a single nation, and then an additional 20 in a different one. So that has been met. So this money should be paid out to at least like Singapore. I'm not saying it needs to be released to the U.S. I mean, it could be whatever. But, you know, like, even, that would be funny, Iran. Who has had over 20 deaths? Let me see. There's been, what, was it Taiwan? Did Taiwan have over 20 deaths? You see what I'm saying? So these countries should be receiving this money, this pandemic money. Or, I mean, technically, it should go directly to the World Health Organization. That's what would occur. So that money would go out of the hands of Goldman Sachs and all of these people into the World Health Organization. So let me see. The bonds would pay 11.5% annually, but reach default after 250 deaths. Like, what kind of sickness is this? How would they do this over... I guess it seemed like a good idea when everybody was healthy. But now it's hinging on, if a pandemic is called, they're going to lose all this money. And it has to be called within 12 weeks. Where I think I missed that part. But that was part of it. And that's weird because right now is when they are calling it. So there's two classes of people that are set to obtain this money. The people that invested in it and the people that are, well, three really. The people that invested in it, the people that are holding it, you know, like if they don't have the money to pay you back, and then the group of people that want to use it for this pandemic, which we all know they could all be connected. But let's think about it like if they're not. So we have the rich people of the world that invested in this, which could also be your 401ks. Then we have the World Bank holding this money that would have to pay it out. And then we have the World Health Organization wanting the funds released because it's been 12 weeks. This many people have died. And it needs to go into the hands of the emergency fund. Which I know many of you are like, wait, we just passed the $8.6 billion. $425 million is nothing compared to that. You're right. I feel the same way, and that's why it's very weird. But as we know, they lie about a lot of money, and a lot of that money goes into their own pockets. So, but this is a factor. Absolutely, 100%. And I wouldn't doubt if Cuomo actually invested in this because he is talking out both sides of his mouth. He's on one side, he's saying 500 or more people cannot gather in an area. He's releasing his National Guard, all of these things, but then also saying, y'all are overreacting. Well, he's overreacting, but he's acting like he's not. So, we don't know what to believe. The money is... There's definitely money involved. Anyway, guys, y'all have a wonderful day. Like, share, and subscribe.